beautiful card slingers. So today I have a video for you. It's full of tarot tips. I have 10 tips total and 5 tips for all of you guys on YouTube and 10 tips for all of the card slinger tier on Patreon. So stick with me as I move through this brand spanking new video. I have notes in my phone. I'm going to be reading from these notes. Always time to do something different, isn't it? Okay, so the first tarot tip that I have for you, and I'm going to read it directly off my notes here, is your choice of deck is everything. I truly stand by this. Your choice of deck when learning tarot is absolutely everything. And there is this horrendous misconception that if you find a deck that's really beautiful, that you just look at and that you instantly connect with, that it's going to be the reader for you. And while that does happen, and can happen, and will continue to happen, it isn't always the way the game is played. So, just because you find the artwork beautiful doesn't mean that it will be a clear reader for you. I have dozens of examples, if not multiple dozens of examples. I have examples of decks that I have acquired, purchased, that have found their way to me. Absolutely stunning decks that I will honestly keep as collector items only, not because I bought them with the intention of them being a collector's item, but because when I look at them, I feel nothing but appreciation for the art. I don't feel like I can actually put that deck to work for me. One example would be the Journey to Egypt Tarot. Stunningly beautiful. Every single image looks like it is a oil painting, something spectacular that you can delve into. As a spiritual tool for path working, especially for those who are epically fond of Egyptology, that deck will do wonders for you. But for me, as a collector and as a professional tarot reader, I find that deck is just too much to work with. One, I don't really gel well with Egyptian iconography and things of that nature, but more than that, it's whenever I look at it, I feel like I'm looking more at art than I am at the magic of the tarot. Tip number 2 is make sure you have at least 2 decks. Now, that may seem like I'm urging you towards hoarding tarot decks. I'm okay with that if that's how you interpret it. But truth be told, when you are learning the tarot and you start to buy learning or reference material for the tarot, what you are inevitably going to get is a myriad of resources specifically dedicated to Rider-Waite-Smith decks, or the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. And it is perhaps the most popular tarot deck out on the market. It's the most popular system out on the market, to many. There are 3 major systems of tarot: Marseille, Thoth, and the Rider-Waite-Smith. And what you are going to find more of is the Rider-Waite-Smith. More decks emulating the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot. And so since you are edging into tarot from a learning perspective, or I should say, if you are edging into tarot, learning it from the very beginning, then having at least one Rider-Waite-Smith deck in your arsenal of tarot decks for learning is going to do you a tremendous amount of good, especially as a learning tool. Now, your second deck can be anything you want, something beautiful, something that's really eye-catching, something that resonates. The art could be like everything you never knew you always wanted, that kind of deck, the dream deck, if you will. So at least have 2. Have one that you absolutely love looking at and that you're really, really wanting to work with, and then have one for the pure purpose of learning. All right, number 3 is be critical with your chosen tarot resources. Now, there's no doubt about it. Tarot has exploded into popularity. There are more decks being created every day. There are mountains upon mountains of tarot resources, blogs, podcasts, YouTube channels, you name it, they exist. And so with this absolutely just gigantic amount of information out there on tarot, it's really easy to get caught up on like misinformation and, kind of confusing threads of conversations, themes, etc., etc. There's a lot out there to navigate, and so do be quite critical when it comes to your resources. Now, if you want my opinion on this, and I offer it to you freely, there is a reason why foundational material on tarot is still some of the most referenced and most recommended out there. People like Rachel Pollack, Mary Kate Greer, Kim Huggins, Marcus Katz and Tali Goodwin, to name but a few, are those individuals who have been at the cutting edge of modern tarot. They have put out so many resources, and if you look very carefully at the resources that those original creators have created, you are going to find that modern tarot books echo those original resources. So go to the source, go to these modern tarot resources. There are so many out there. Do the exercises, immerse yourself in the terminology, look at what it is that they have been creating over time over there, and then wind your way forward to, current publications on tarot. You are going to find that you are going to learn a lot more and a lot faster. You're going to have a solid knowledge base from which to learn, and also you are going to start to understand the community in its scope, the macro and the micro. Number 4 is variety is the spice of life. Do not fall into the habit, and I say this with a word of caution, please friends, don't fall into the habit of using one single tarot resource as a crutch for your learning. What makes a beautiful, confident, enigmatic, creative, professional, all-rounder of a tarot reader is the type of resources they are choosing to consume, if you will. So adopt it all. Try and get all the good stuff, as much of it as you can. Yes, be critical, like I was just saying with point number 3 or tip number 3, but also consume a variety when you can. Because the more you have as far as information and resources under your belt as you are learning the tarot, the more wide and varied your knowledge base on the tarot will be. And this will help you to create a robust tarot experience for yourself, and that will come in very handy if you ever want to become a professional tarot reader. If you don't, and you're just doing this from a hobby perspective, isn't information power? Doesn't knowing more help? For me, the answer is yes. The answer might be different to you, but for me, the more I know, the more confident I feel, and the more confident I feel, the more I'm going to enjoy the tarot as a spiritual tool in all of its glory. Tip number 5, and this is the last tip that I'm going to give for all of my beautiful YouTube subscribers, and that is please don't riffle shuffle your decks. This is a controversial one, I understand. There will be some out there going, why the F not? And I understand, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life and how to treat your decks, but I will say this, if you do plan on riffle shuffling your decks, buy 2 of your favorite copies of the tarot deck that you are in fact riffle shuffling, because the lifespan of your decks when you riffle shuffle them are increasingly less. I never have to replace any decks. If you can have a look at some of my more well-used decks, the ones that have been in my collection for 20 or 30 years, and they look mint condition. Not because I don't use them, but because I don't riffle shuffle them. They don't have the bends, they don't have the wear and tear. Now there's a certain charm to that aesthetic, and I can appreciate that, but honestly, it makes my heart just wither and die whenever I see somebody riffle shuffling a deck. This isn't an essential tip, but if you do want your decks to last for a really long time, and you are a person that is going to riffle shuffle your deck, like poker style, right? Then make sure you buy 2 of that favorite deck, because you will wear into one a lot more when you are riffle shuffling. That's a little tip from just a personal place. So there you have it, beautiful souls. Thanks for sticking with me for 5 just really fun, simple, easy-going tarot tips. If you want to see the remaining 5, then do consider heading on over to my Card Slinger tier on Patreon. No obligations, of course, just letting you know that there will be 5 more tips over there for the Card Slinger tier. But if that's not something that you can do at this moment in time, that's totally fine. I hope you've enjoyed this anyway, and I will be speaking to you soon. Mwah! Bye!